Michigan is going to Oklahoma in week 2 of the college football season. Very quietly, a pivotal game for both sides. Could be a massive college football playoff bargaining chip for both sides should they find themselves on Selection Sunday. We are famously a lot higher on both these schools than I think the majority of the public is. This is going to be an awesome game. You got Bryce Underwood, John Mateer. We're going to give you a preview for it right now, give you our official prediction when we get closer to the actual game being played. Before we do that, though, make sure you're subscribed. College football, nothing but college football. If you want to get our official pick in this game, we will have it for you, but the best way to make sure you don't miss it is by subscribing to the channel. So make sure you're locked in. Now, the one thing I'm watching going into this, man, is there a I'm him kind of factor for either of these quarterbacks? And what I mean by that is I cannot help but routinely go back to 2022. It's Florida, it's Utah, and Utah was stacked that year. Tons of talent, Cam Rising, they had a bunch of dudes that were just experienced play, just an adult roster from Utah, and a first-year starting quarterback in Anthony Richardson. And Utah, for the most part, I think was the better team. Finished had a better season. I mean, Florida didn't finish with all that impressive of a final record, but on that day, didn't really matter because Anthony Richardson threw on the cape, made some ridiculous plays, and that was it. Do we see something like that from either John Mateer or Bryce Underwood? It's not really groundbreaking analysis, but it really could come down to one of those quarterbacks having one of those kind of games. Now, the game flow in itself, I think, is huge, whoever draws first blood. If Oklahoma starts scoring in bunches, and we look up really quick, end of the second quarter, and it's 17, call it 17-7, 17-3 Oklahoma. One, they're at home, so Bryce Underwood, you're on the road for your first start on the road. Okay, best of luck. Two, this Michigan offense, we know that hasn't really been their MO historically. You brought in Chip Lindsey to change things. You brought in Bryce Underwood to change things. But to have that be your moment in Norman, Oklahoma against Brent Venables and that defense, which they feel great about internally, not a place you want to find yourself in. So that's a game flow that would absolutely favor the Sooners. Now, on the flip side, if Michigan gets leverage, Michigan goes up, let's call it 10-3 at half, 13-3 at half, do we see them just go back to their bully ways? Do we see the old formula Michigan find itself back out there in Norman, Oklahoma, where they just start to just apply pressure, put them in a headlock, and they just slowly just put them to sleep? Put them to sleep. It might be a boring second half. It might be a final score of 20-10, but Michigan, I promise you, they are more than fine playing a game like that, winning a game like that. Seen them do it many times, and I don't think that with Sharon Moore now in year 2 at Michigan, they would be uncomfortable doing that here again under him with his second year as a head coach. So, especially against his alma mater, where he was an offensive lineman, I think he'd be just fine for the Michigan O-line to dictate terms on that Saturday. Last couple thoughts here. The chess game between these coordinators on defense with Wink Martindale and Brent Venables. Brent Venables is putting his hand up and saying, hey, my turn. I'm calling. If we go out in Oklahoma and we don't accomplish what we want to accomplish, it's going to be on my shoulders. We have a standard here to uphold. I'm the guy to do it, all right? I'm the one to get the job done. Wink Martindale comes from the NFL side of things, and both dudes pretty exotic with how they call their scheme. These are still first-year starting quarterbacks at their respective schools. For John Mateer, I'm not so much worried about him being able to process the defense as much as I am his teammates being on the same page as him. Because week 2, man, you're still getting up to what game speed's supposed to be. You try to simulate it as much as possible during fall camp and spring ball, but you don't really know what it's like until you're out there with live bullets. So if he sees a hot, but his receiver isn't all the way in tune with the hot the way that he's supposed to be, and Mateer pulls the trigger, receiver doesn't see it, DB jumps on it, 6 the other way, it goes down as a pick for John Mateer, but it might actually be on the receiver for not knowing where that football was coming from. Same deal could be for Bryce Underwood. He's a freakish athlete, but that offensive line, it's been a talking point all spring over on the Wolverine, Michigan on 3 site. Are we good enough at tackle to protect whether it's Bryce Underwood or Mikey Keene or Jaden Davis? Are we good enough to protect our quarterback? I would be wildly surprised if it's not Bryce Underwood, but if he's got a sped-up shot clock and has to put the team on his back early on in his career at Michigan, and it's a road game against that defense, again, that's asking a lot of the guy. So the ability for either coordinator to put the other quarterback into a blender early on and kind of allow the other offense to play with maybe a half step of extra bit of momentum, that could be what dictates it. Now, the last thought here is with week 2 and with where these teams are, if it's close in the fourth quarter, who's the more mature outfit to go win the game? To not flinch, to have the composure in the fourth quarter, put a drive together, get it done. Because I think both these teams have leadership internally, but they both lose what I would say is like the heartbeat of their team in some ways, or some of their senior leadership, I would say, or upperclassmen leadership. Mason Graham, gone to the league. Kenneth Grant, gone to the league. Will Johnson, gone to the league for Michigan. Okay, it's not a small lot. Colston Loveland, gone to the league. Same thing for Oklahoma. Danny Stutzman, he's gone to the league. So there's a lot of, I think, maybe presence on that field in the fourth quarter where a year ago you'd look to them and say, okay, we go as you go, big dog. Who's that guy in week 2 for these teams? I think it will eventually become a reality for both teams in October and November, but where is that in the second game of your season? I cannot wait to watch it because whoever's more mature in that fourth quarter, who's able to not flinch and make the play to win, it's cliche, but I think it's the reality here in non-conference college football early on in the year. You got to be able to do it. Got to be able to do it. So this will be a blast. I cannot wait to watch. Again, we will have a pick for you here soon, and we will talk about both teams a lot here in the future. So if you're an Oklahoma fan or a Michigan fan or just a college football sicko watching on YouTube in the month of May, welcome home. Make sure you're locked in and subscribed. But we appreciate y'all for being locked in.